Welcome to Maroon Sports Talk, your one-stop shop for all things EKU sports. I'm Nick Speer.
I'm Caleb Wills.
I'm Joey Aguirre.
All right, y'all. It's just the guys today, I guess. Jenna is on the way to nationals for the dance team, so good luck to her. I guess Caleb put this blanket here.
Yeah, in her absence.
In her absence, yeah. So good luck to Jenna. We're rooting for you and all the dance teams. So first things first, we'll start off with EKU softball. What do you have for us, Caleb? And then what are you looking forward to? I know they have a huge matchup April 23rd against UK. So how do you think they've been performing this year, and what are your thoughts so far?
Right. Right now, Right now they sit with a record of 28-10. They're coming off a win right now. They just played Central Arkansas, all three games at Conway, Arkansas, and they came away with 2 wins, 1 loss. So, ultimately won the series. So that's good for EKU softball. They dominated Morehead State. Beat them 15-1 and 15-9.
Oh, wow.
And, the weekend prior in Morehead. And then they also won 2 out of 3 in the last home matchup against North Alabama. So, obviously, you still see some losses popping up, probably a few more losses than you would have seen from last year's team.
Yeah.
But considering how young this roster is, that's just expected. Also, they're not pitching Maddie as often as they did last year. Last year, it was like every single game. They just talked about kind of overusing Maddie, and they're really trying to save that arm come postseason. Because last year they ultimately, fell flat in the ASUN tournament, didn't get to make it to regionals, which I still think was a snub. But regardless, they're just trying to save that arm, make sure when they get there that she's fresh and ready to go. They don't want to overpitch her. So you will see maybe a few more losses pop up. Not that it's the backup pitcher's fault. Both of them are doing excellent jobs as well. Just, ASUN pitcher of the year not being on the mound, that is going to make slight difference.
Yeah. One thing that I'm looking forward to coming this homestand here the next week or so is just to see how good. I know ASUN play is super important, but just a really big non-conference power opponent in UK at home. I know we played at Tennessee on the road and Louisville on the road. It didn't really turn out the way we wanted to, but as we can kind of see, we'll talk about that here in a little bit with baseball, is that almost all their wins for baseball are at home, and obviously just playing at home in college is super important.
Right.
On your home turf, the field, the facility, you have your own fans backing you up. I think that'll be super important. What do you expect out of that game here the next week or so against UK, and then how do you think they can perform, and what do you think they need to do to come out with that win?
I like that they have Austin Peay going right into that, so they get a home weekend against Austin Peay going into UK. So it's a nice way to just establish yourself at home before you play the big brand that is UK at home. Yeah. So I legitimately think EKU softball can give anybody a run for their money on any given day. I truly do believe that. We saw that last year, and I think we can still see that this year. So honestly, I expect a close matchup. I'm not going to say they're going to beat the Big Blue. That's definitely tough, hard to do. But are they capable? Absolutely. And do I think it's going to be a close matchup? Yeah. And I think UK needs to be ready because EKU softball is not a joke.
Nope. Joey, what are you kind of looking forward to with softball later this year, and how do you expect just the fans to come out? I know when we played UK for baseball, now it's a little bit bigger with baseball. Is a lot of blue in the stands. What do you expect out of the fans, and how do you think mentality-wise EKU softball should go into this matchup here in the next week? And Austin Peay too. Let's give Austin Peay their credit where credit's due. They're really, really good, top 25 mid-major, ranked all the time, just like us. So what do you expect out of that coming in here the next week?
I think as long as we, the students all show out and as many people go as they can to be there to cheer them on, that'll give them the energy and just the support that they could use to boost their mentality and just help them win, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of looking at, last year with one of the bigger games was Greek night at softball, and it was against Louisville. I'll never forget that game. We won 6-2, and it was Taylor Swift night, Greek night. It was absolutely packed out, like Joey said. Just make sure the fans show up and show out for the team that night. I mean, the crowd was ecstatic, and all the fans rushed towards the net when they won and threw the L's down. So I expect that that kind of crowd next week. So if you can't make it out, it's streamed on ESPN+. So kind of switching diamonds here, we'll go to baseball. They're on a 2-game winning streak. I know we talked about this a little bit before we recorded. I'll give some stats in a minute, but I'll just kind of give your thoughts, Caleb, on how that's going for them so far.
One thing that we talked a lot about in the past, or that I've talked about in my recaps and articles for the Eastern Progress, is just the idea that, like, we've seen it before in EKU sports. If you can win in conference play, you can turn your whole season around. I mean, obviously they were 4-20 at one point, I think was when I was covering them last. I think now they sit at 6-28. So I think, I was just talking about how, like, you can really turn your season around when you get into conference play. The problem is they're not winning their conference games. So it looked like maybe they were going to start that, because when they started conference play, they were grabbing a few wins. They won 2 out of 3 against Bellarmine. So it was like, okay, like, this is a good start. They won 1 out of 3 against North Alabama. But then they dropped all 3 against Central Arkansas, all 3 against Austin P. And their 2 wins that they're on the 2-game winning streak. One being a pretty good win against Northern Kentucky. Obviously, they got run-ruled by Northern Kentucky earlier in the year. So it's good to get that revenge. They're at home. And then they grabbed the win against Morehead State. But, those don't mean nearly as much as those Austin P games, as the Central Arkansas games that they can't get back now. So not just trying to, like, dog on them or anything, but they're not winning the right games. So when they're stringing together, I don't know if they need to string together better lineups. I haven't been at the games, nor have I looked at the box score yet, so I don't know who's pitching in those games yet. But I would say, they probably want to make some adjustments to where they're trying to win the conference games a little more.
I think I'll kind of give some statistics here. I think Elijah Underhill really showed some.
Elijah Underhill's a very good player.
He really showed some consistency. He had 5 innings pitched. I know it's Morehead State, but it's still old OVC opponent, old rival. It's a big crowd that night. They're giving free T-shirts out. 5 innings pitched, only 2 hits, only 5 walks and 5 strikeouts. Now it's kind of a little bit. He was kind of giving some pitches away, but he can his heater's really fast.
Yeah, he's one of those. I actually have seen Underhill play and, like, checked his stats and stuff before, and he's one of those. He starts off really, really strong, and then obviously, like any pitcher, declines. I think his decline happens a little faster. Like I think by 5 innings, he's ready to come out. But he's an excellent pitcher. He hit the grand slam against Bellarmine to seal the game, or not the grand slam. I'm sorry, the walk-off home run. That's what he hit. He's 2023 like high school Kentucky Mr. Baseball. So he's a super talented athlete. Yeah. He needs more playing time.
I think we have a good set starting rotation, and our relief pitchers are pretty good too. Lawson came in, closed one of the games out. So he was our closer both times. Or no,
Lawson's been a closer lately?
Yeah, one time. I think it was only one time, and he came in and closed for us. And in the NKU game, it was a lot more I'd say it was 3-1. Not a lot of. We just came off a doubleheader against NKU. But the NKU, we had 7 runs in the 4th inning. Made a grand slam too. And I think just making the game mucky a little bit, that kind of seemed to be how we pulled out the NKU win. We were stealing a lot, being very aggressive at the plate. First pitch, sometimes you're swinging away. So I think just making the game a little bit mucky, stealing the bases, just make it a little bit interesting, put pressure on the other team and force them, if you do get some consistency at the bat, by being aggressive. I think that's how you kind of can pull out the wins. And Joey, generally usually answer this question, but for you, how do you think you can mentality? We talk about mentality a lot here on the podcast. Just you're on a 2-game winning streak now, and now you got to go play Lipscomb at home, who's not great. They're 13-18, but it's still a conference opponent.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna try and smell blood in the water, being like we're playing EKU or whatever. But how do you think they can kind of turn this around? They seem very excited at the end of the win against Morehead State after winning 2 in a row.
I mean, as we keep pointing out, usually when any team plays at home, they usually play better, or games tend to go more their way. So hoping that keeps up with this, and I mean, same thing with I said for softball, having students show out and be there to essentially be their support is what they need.
Absolutely. Hopefully they can pull out the wins this weekend against Lipscomb. I'm trying to pull out some stats here on my phone. For you talked about you had some esports things you wanted to talk about. Touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. So because I've missed the past few weeks, our Rainbow Six Siege white team made it all the way to the finals and lost 3-1 in there. So they got second place with that. That's really the only team that made it to playoffs for us. However, for EKU in general, they will be having a 24-hour stream, I believe, starting
24 hours.
Yes.
Wow.
They did one last semester. They'll be doing it again. The esports lounge is closed today because they're doing that.
Wow.
I don't know when it's starting, but it's starting
Like,
today.
Is it just one team, like one?
No, it's a variety of things. Like
Nice.
last time they did board games, Magic the Gathering, like as well as video games and
That's
stuff.
sick.
So
Yeah.
that'll be going on throughout today and tomorrow.
This is so random. Did you guys know that James, not James, well, that is his name, but Max, you know that Max is on the Rainbow Six team?
No way.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I just found that out the other day. I was like, we got to have him on the podcast.
We'll have him as a guest.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else, Joey? Where can they check out that stream?
That's going to be on the EKU Esports Twitch, which is EKU_esports.
Yeah, I know when this podcast is posted, that stream will be over, but that's a good information to know about where you can view those live streams.
Because they do
reference.
also
Yeah.
stream some of the matches as
Yeah.
well. So like they streamed the playoff matches
Yeah.
with EKU White.
Okay.
Awesome.
Now moving on to, I know it's March Madness is over for college basketball, but NBA playoffs are starting up here pretty soon. But just some basketball news. It seemed on 24/7 Sports where we talk about Kimball enter the transfer portal. I don't know how true this is, but they seem to be pretty accurate with 24/7 Sports.
They're usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said Meyer will enter the transfer portal, which hurts for
Big time.
EKU. I was talking to some of the staff at one of the games, and they were talking about Jaden Harris. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school. We're kind of leaning on him to come and hopefully can be one of the stars next year. Crawford hasn't entered the transfer portal yet, but I thought this was a little kind of cool nugget here. Leland Walker has entered the transfer portal.
Leland Walker's back in the portal.
Out of Florida Atlantic.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
what do you think he's coming back? I'm just kidding. What do you think?
You know, maybe. Florida Atlantic definitely did not have the season they thought they were going to.
No, they did not. But Leland Walker is
Yeah,
also in the
because
transfer
Dusty
portal.
May left and went to Michigan, and they had quite the season.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Come home, Leland. I know you're not seeing this, but Leland, come home.
come home, Leland.
Come home, Leland.
That's just some transfer portal news. I'll kind of keep you guys updated. We'll kind of follow around where like Kimball, Meyer, and if anyone else enters the transfer portal. Well, that's about it for this week.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully see you guys next week, if not the week after that. And thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you guys soon.
See you guys.
See you guys.
Thank you.